Hello everybody and welcome back to Big Dan's channel. I am, of course, as always, Big Dan, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Now, going into this one, I will admit I didn't expect it to be as good as the original trilogy, and kind of unfortunately I was right. I did predict that it wasn't as good, at least in my opinion, and I know a lot of other people have said the same thing. First off, I just want to say it's not a bad film. It's still decent and all that. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, I still say you're relatively satisfied with it, like I am. It's just don't expect it to be like some kind of five-star masterpiece like the original trilogy was, because you will be disappointed. Thankfully, though, I didn't go in with that mindset and I wasn't disappointed. So I'm just saying, first off, please don't think this is going to be a masterpiece like the original trilogy. With that said, I can probably get into it now. So, as far as the story's concerned, I thought the story was a good one. I like the exploration of sort of pre-War of the Ring Middle Earth. I think it's a nice thing to go into for this franchise, and it's an area I'd say is not really explored. I haven't watched The Rings of Power, so I don't really know much about it, and I know that is kind of pre-War of the Ring, so I don't really know about that. I can't really comment in comparison to it. But at least in my opinion, from a standalone point, looking into this, I thought it was a decent story. It was interesting to look into one. As I said, that was before Middle Earth, because there is a lot of references to the Lord of the Rings original trilogy, but it's never feeling sort of overwhelmed or crammed in there. It kind of stands alone as its own nice little film, you know. As far as the anime style is concerned, I will admit I really still don't know how I feel about it. I can't tell you if I would have preferred if it was live action. I knew that when I heard it was going to be an anime film and not live action. I was like, I don't know how I feel about it, and honestly, I still don't. So I can't really give an opinion on that one. Though I will say I do like the style of it. I think it's nicely done and there's clear effort put into the design of it. One of my only problems with the film really is the predictability of it. It's pretty predictable at some points, to be honest. Like, there's lines of dialogue and stuff that kind of gives away what's about to happen next, and I'm like, oh, they're obviously going to do so and so thing next, and then it cuts to it. So it's kind of a big losing point in that respect in comparison to the original trilogy. That's where it lost a lot of marks from us that would have held it up a bit higher and closer to those original three. But it's not too bad, I'd say. You know, you can still feel relatively entertained with the thing. Pacing wise, I'd say it's fairly well paced. I never felt bored particularly, although I will say I do think the last 30 minutes of the film drags on just a little bit too long. It could have just been because I needed the toilet, but I just thought it was a bit too long at the very end of it, and it just dragged on a bit too long in my opinion, and I thought it could have just cut a bit sooner, and I was like, okay, I'm now gonna finish. Oh no, it's still going on now, now kind of thing, you know. Like, I just wanted it to finally end. Like, again, it's an enjoyable film, but there's a bit of too much, shall we say. Like, it loses the pace and compared to the original trilogy in that respect as well, sadly. But I will say I do actually quite like the score of the film. Like, the film opens, and this isn't a spoiler, with the score from the original trilogy that the original trilogy opened with, and I thought that was quite nice, and it did actually give us goosebumps. Delia, who I went to see it with, I was holding her hand really tight. She was looking over. I was like, okay, Dan, calm down. But yeah, I did really enjoy it, and I thought it was nice that they used some bits of the original score. Like, I would have preferred if they used maybe a little bit more of it, but at the same time, I'm glad they didn't just sort of copy paste it in, you know. And I wouldn't say it was overused at any point. Like, it kind of had its own score sort of thing. It wasn't just trying to recycle the original one, and it did, as I said, stand alone a fair amount in that respect. So yeah, that's about all I've got to say about it, really. Again, don't expect it to be the kind of masterpiece you expect it to be, like the original trilogy was. But as long as you just take that into account and remember that this is, you know, you're not really going to see characters you know and love, because obviously this is nearly 200 years before the War of the Ring. Then, as long as you keep that in mind and everything, I think you'd still have an enjoyable experience watching it, even if it's not a masterpiece. So, for all the reasons I've mentioned, with the story, the pacing being relatively well, though it does die down a little bit at the end, and some predictability problems, though I do like the score and all that, my final verdict for The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, is a 7 out of 10. As I said, I never expected this to be a kind of masterpiece like the original trilogy was. You know, those original three films, as loads of people have said in the past, and I'm going to say again now, I don't think we'll ever get a trilogy as good as that, even outside of Lord of the Rings. I think that trilogy is something that will always be the best one of all time. It is the best trilogy of all time, in my opinion. There's no question about it to me. So yeah, but as long as you keep that in mind and you go into this with sort of a fresh set of eyes as much as you can, then I promise I think you will still enjoy it and you'll enjoy the story set before the pre-Ring Middle Earth. Despite a few of its little flaws, I still think it's a decent entry in this franchise. So yeah, it doesn't need to exist, sure, but yeah, I still think it's a decent thing to exist anyway. So yeah, that's about all I've got to say about the film. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this video has been helpful and helped me to decide if you want to go and see it. If you haven't already and you enjoyed the video, please press like. Don't forget to subscribe to watch the rest of my film reviews and any other content I do. As always, I've been Big Dan and I am out. Peace.